Welcome back to Empowered. This episode, we sit down with Candy Gibson, the Director of Marketing and Strategic Partnership for World Impact. She offers tips on improving and maintaining your church's web presence and how to get started in utilizing social media.
Hi, I'm Candy Gibson, and I'm the Director of Marketing and Strategic Partnership at World Impact. But I began as a youth pastor and church planter. And so I know that the world of marketing and branding can be really scary when you're on that side of things, because it's not what you're used to. It's not sometimes how your brain thinks, but other times it is exactly in your sweet spot. I know youth pastors all over the place love doing this stuff, but I don't always have time for it. So we're going to talk today kind of about two things. We're going to talk about social media versus church website, and I'm hoping we can all learn a few things together. One, when we look at websites, you have to think about what static material, that's static information that doesn't change, that your user, whoever is going to the website for your church, needs to have. For me, I recently moved halfway across the country, and the place I moved to, I live in Wichita, Kansas, only has one area code. I've never lived in a city that only has one area code. So on none of the church websites that I was going to, on none of the billboards, did they have an area code. And I don't have a phone from Wichita. So I had to then Google what is the area code for Wichita to be able to call anyone. So on your church website, on the front page, in a very easy to find location, have your address, have your phone number with area code, and have the times of your services in a very easy to find location. You can also have a drop down that says services at times and location, but having it right there on the home page so it's simple and easy to find, because that's probably one of the number one reasons new viewers are coming to your website. Another thing that's good to think about when having a website is, can anyone understand this? Or can only people who go to our church understand this? So keeping the language simple, veering away from a lot of the Christianese that we sometimes tend to use, and making it a place that is welcoming to anyone who might stumble upon or choose to look at your website. Can I find the staff? Can I find the preacher? Can I find the pastor or the pastoral staff? Do you have pictures? Do people look friendly? Do the pictures on your website actually represent the people in your congregation? On your pastoral team page, do you have a picture of men and women but then only have men on your staff? Or do you have a picture of men and women who are all on your staff? These are really important things so that your church looks like the way your website looks when people show up. Another thing to think about when doing a website is the platform. And I know that can be, we're not getting paid for this by any advertisers. We're not sponsored by anybody. But I steer people in the direction of Squarespace all the time when they ask about a church website. It's simple to use. There's tons of YouTube videos and helps, and the people at Squarespace are super helpful in helping you create and maintain your site. And it's easy to pass that off to someone else if the person who started it moves on to another project or moves on to a different type of ministry within your church. Once you have all your static information, the never-changing stuff on your website, it's time to think about your social media. And something that's really important with social media is that you define your platforms. One of the things that we do at World Impact is each of our platforms, each of our social media platforms, is used for something different. For us, our website, like we talked about, is static information, things that don't really change, except for our blogs, which are updated regularly. But then we have Facebook. Facebook is for evolving events for us. And involving information, and we invite people to things. Sometimes we do Facebook fundraisers. I know a lot of churches use Facebook for events and for live streaming their service, which I think is great. But when you do those things, especially live streaming your service, I would really encourage you to have someone who you trust, not only being in charge of the stream, but talking to people who are interacting with the sermon on Facebook so that there's a direct connection and they can say, hey, I don't know, like maybe someone's sick and they're watching from home and they can say, we're praying for you. We hope you feel better. Or I'm so glad to see you watching. Would you like to come next week? Do you need someone to pick you up? Those are all sorts of things that can make a great impact with very little effort when it comes to Facebook Live, especially for your Sunday sermons. Another place is if you're on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, at World Impact, we use Twitter for articles and for connecting with thought leaders and other like-minded urban ministry folks like you, hopefully who are watching this video. Hopefully we connect with you on Twitter. And if you're listening to us via podcast, we hope you tweet about us. We're really excited about this new venture for us. As we have those things on Twitter, I would encourage your church to do a similar thing. What are you using Twitter for? Are people tweeting at you what they're learning in the sermon? Are you retweeting those things? Are they tweeting at you things that they've been thinking about from the sermon throughout the week, or other things they're learning and how to apply what they've been taught? Or maybe you live in a state like Michigan, that's where I grew up, and you have to cancel your Wednesday night stuff. Are you using Twitter as a quick, fast, and effective way to get out there that you have a cancellation because of snow or poor weather? That's a great way to use Twitter for your church if it's something you choose to use. Another great place for us, another platform I love is Instagram. My personal Instagram, I love keeping it maintained. At World Impact, our Instagram is something we use for really creative content, a lot of color, a lot of fun, because we just want it to be visually appealing. And maybe for you at your church, you put quotes and you encourage your congregants to follow your Instagram so they can be encouraged throughout the week. Maybe you post verses or shareable images, or other thought leaders that you like, you repost their content. Or maybe you put quotes from songs that you're going to be singing this upcoming Sunday. There's great ways to use it. And especially if you do the story element, you can add Spotify playlists and Spotify songs to really help your congregation continue to grow. Social media is a really fun place to be. And when used well and when used properly, it can really increase the community in your church. And we really hope that's what this little mini session can really dig into, is how to use this to better your community in your church. One of the ways you can do this, after you define your platforms and your website set up, you can set goals. Set some social media goals that are attainable. Be realistic. If you have a congregation of 40 people, say you want 15 of them following you in your first month on Instagram. That's doable and it's attainable, and it makes your primary reason for being on Instagram the people you serve. It's not to impress other people. It's not to get the word out. I kind of view social media as a little bit like John the Baptist. He was always pointing to Christ and the coming of Jesus and being that forerunner. For us, social media has to be the same thing. It's not about self-promotion. It's about Christ promotion and kingdom promotion. And hopefully that's what your church is about. And that's how we need to use social media, is for really pointing people to Jesus and pointing our congregation to kingdom community. And you can do that with goals. How many people do you want following? How many times do you want to post a week? How many times do you want to post a month? And we'll get to that in a minute. And also, because social media is great and can be time consuming, most social media is coming with built-in free analytics. And so it's great. Your Facebook page, if you go to Insights and click on it, you can see your engagement. You can see when people are interacting. And it even tells you the best time for you to post is X. And so try to engage then, and you can schedule the post to be posted at that time. So you Maybe you sit down for 1 hour every Monday and you schedule the posts for the week. And then you're done. You can do that with Twitter, you can do that with Facebook, you can't do that with Instagram. Sorry, at least not yet. Maybe by the time this comes out, you will be able to. They're always changing, and we hope that they change this too. Another great thing about setting goals is you can set goals for people you want to meet face to face. You can set events, and you can say, I want from this one event to meet 10 new people. I want to meet 5 new neighbors, and hopefully the neighborhood barbecue can do that. I've seen a lot of churches use geolocating for their advertising to be specific to their neighborhood so they can meet community members. If you are going to put ads on any of the social medias, make sure you have the proper number of people to follow up with the people you invite. If you set an ad to reach 1,000 people and you have a church of 5, they're not going to be able to follow up. There's nothing wrong with a church of 5, and there's nothing wrong with inviting 1,000 people. If all 1,000 people showed up, would you be able to follow up with home visits, discipleship, prayer calls, welcome packages? We really have to think about that in this day and age. We don't want someone to come for one huge Easter service and then never come again. We want them to be in it with us and with Jesus for the long haul. Once you have these things, once you look at analytics, once you set your goals and you have your social media platforms defined, it's really important that you create a content calendar. And this might all seem overwhelming, but a content calendar doesn't have to be heavy on things. It can be, I'm going to post 3 times a week on the church's Facebook. One of those posts is going to be on Saturday, reminding people to come to church on Sunday. One of those posts is going to be, hey, Wednesday night we're doing X. Or maybe you do it on Thursday night. And maybe one of the other posts is a scripture. 3 posts, Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. Maybe you want to start with 1 post because maybe that's all you can handle. That is okay. And it's good. Start small to continue to build. This is also a great place to engage maybe some of your younger members who might be slightly more tech savvy than you may be, even than I may be. It's a great way to engage them in saying, hey, what would you want on the church's Instagram? Or talk to someone who's in the age group that uses Facebook more and say, what would you want our Facebook to look like? Can you help me make it a place that you want to come to? And with all of a content schedule, the most important thing is to be consistent. You will not see growth if you're not consistent because the algorithms are changing all the time. Your consistency can help you beat a little bit of the algorithm change. And with everything we try to do in the marketing department at World Impact, it's simplify and repeat. Keep trying new things if you have time to. When something works, repeat it until it doesn't work. And keep everything simple. Keep your words simple, keep your structure simple, and try to keep everything you post at a 5th grade level or lower, because that's what people actually take the time to read. Thanks so much for listening and taking time out of your super busy schedule to make space to learn something with me.
Thank you again for joining us. Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. Reach out on social media with questions or topic suggestions, and that's World Impact Inc. on both Facebook and Twitter, and World Impact on Instagram. And if you prefer email, that's empowered@worldimpact.org.